We'll go ahead and start on this end. You're not going to hear any narration because I have a full face hood. And unfortunately, my microphone is not charged up, and the wired mic is in the house, and right now I'm a filthy mess. So, watch how quickly and effectively the modifications work, and we'll talk some more about what this does after. Okay, so this video may have seemed backward. I actually showed you the results first. They were just that impressive. Well, plus I'd actually done this video some time ago when I did the modifications on this blaster. Let's not worry about that. Have you ever believed hype before? Or did think that the hype was worth it? If you've got these pressure pot blasters from Freight Princess, anybody like that 10-gallon thing, these modifications are what you need to do to get the results that you saw at the beginning of this video. Now I'm going to tip the machine over here just so I can highlight everything for you that was done to the machine. Everyone recommends upgrading the size of the metering valve. So here we have 3/4 inch inlet outlet. We have an L, and behind the L, the adapter, and the second adapter plus this shutoff valve right here. One of the things that had to be done also, because we were going to larger diameter than stock, I actually drilled out the bung that you see. I had to order from Drill America, I think it is, the proper size drill and tap for this. If you need any type of drill and tap, I strongly suggest you use those folks. Available on eBay and Amazon. The other thing that I did for ease of adjustment was to bend, as you can see right there, a piece of rod, drill a hole through the handle that allows me to adjust the metering valve on the pressure pot blaster on the fly without having to bend down. Which is great. So all I did was take, those bushings that you get in the Harbor Freight wire wheel. I took one of those and just tacked it up to the tank. Yeah, no comments on it, welding. It held, and it holds, and ran the rod through there to give me control of this from topside. I also made the handle big enough with a gloved hand, not just this glove, but the welding type gloves that I'll wear when I'm doing this, so I could get my hand in there, or at least 3 fingers in there to adjust. Now, other people on YouTube recommend all of these valves be stainless steel because of their longevity. I didn't have stainless steel money, so I opted for brass. One of the things that they will tell you is these valves need to be fully open or fully closed because using abrasive blasters under pressure will cause these ball valves to wear. Yeah, it will. But considering I'm not doing production work with this, the availability of the brass, the lower cost of the brass, I went with the brass. So again, upgrading everything, even this nipple right here. Again, the bung is drilled out to 3/4 inch. I have a nipple here. I have a 3/4 inch ball valve here, another nipple, the 3/4 inch T, the L, 3/4 adapter, and 3/4 barb adapter right there into the upgraded hose. I got the Kinsey 1/2 inch inner diameter. That means inside the hose is a 1/2 inch. Now this thing is really thick and robust and far superior to the hoses that they originally come with. Again, Amazon special. Not special, but it's sold in certain lengths. You can get them in 8 foot and 15 feet or longer depending on your budget. So I think I chose the, I don't know, this may be 10 to 12 feet. But the other crown jewel of this is this nozzle right here. If you've ever tried to use one of these stock as it comes out of the box, you know what I'm talking about. That little bitty nozzle, that little small hose, which is probably just a 1/4 inch airline, trying to force media through the original metering thing, will clog up repeatedly and give you fits. This nozzle from Kennametal, there's a business end of it. I got the one for the fine grit. They make them in several different sizes. This was a real deal nozzle. Now, just like the ball valve, it recommends this valve when you're using it is either fully open or fully closed. That's the only reason for this right here. This should not be doing any metering according to wording right there. Da-da-da-da-da. See? Ball valves will deteriorate if opened partially. And they even give you a website to go to. At any rate, game-changing nozzle. Now, if you've got one of these, and it's in its stock form, it's giving you fits, those are the changes that everybody recommends. And I can tell you from experience, are absolutely wonderful. It actually makes the machine fun to use again. The other thing I did on the inlet side was I went with the Milton high flow adapters. Some people argue that they do not flow anymore. I don't have any tests to say that they do or don't. I know my pneumatic tools perform differently when I have them on. The only reason none of this plumbing, this is the original plumbing, the air supply line down to the metering valve, the only reason that wasn't increased was because of cost. And the only thing we're flowing is air. Now you have to go back to a principle of flow of a liquid or flow of air, it's only going to flow as much as the smallest orifice. So if I wanted to take time and increase the size here, increase the manifold size there, increase the pipe size and the valve here, and even increase the size of the water separator here, I could have done all of that, but it would have been inherently expensive, and I don't call this an O-Bucks garage for nothing. You have more than enough air to adequately run this machine with just the changes made at the metering valve. Trust me. Now, this was a setup from the initial time that I used this. I left it on there thinking that I might need it at some point. People, they actually have machines that you can buy to strap on to, to strap on to the tank to vibrate it to make the material fall down to the center. Since doing these modifications, I have not had to use this once. In fact, that rear end that you saw was completely done without stopping. I did not have one clog using this particular setup on these pots. Now, this applies to every one of them. Vevor, Harbor Freight, Princess Auto, you name it, Northern Tools even. That 10-pound or 10-gallon, 10-gallon pressure pot blaster. Those modifications will work for you too. Biggest thing you got to have is more than enough air. Using this, what I discovered is I was even able to cut back on the flow of the abrasive because it flowed so well, extending the time that I had to cut the material and just do the work. So if you got one of these, I totally recommend that you do those modifications. Now stick around. I'm going to give an approximate cost breakdown of all of those pieces that I used for this upgrade. Now, these are actually current prices. I looked them up. Mine were a little bit cheaper because I did them about 2, 3, 4 years ago. Anyway, look at the end of this video to see the cost breakdown. All right, here's an approximate cost breakdown because, as we all know, the events of the past few weeks have kind of changed a lot of things, but this will give you an idea. 3/4 inch ball valve, $25.87. 3/4 inch nipples, you're going to need 3 of those, $2.91 each. 3/4 inch T, $5.11. The 3/8 to 3/4 inch 45-degree L, $4.64. The big ticket items, the Kennametal nozzle, $48.99. The hose, $39 to $59, depending on the length that you purchase. And the Drill America 3/4 inch drill and tap set, $16.44, for a grand total of $165.87. That was my cost a while ago. What do you get for doing that? You get a machine that works efficiently. You get a machine that's easier to work with, that gets the job done a lot more quickly. When you get it done quickly, it's more enjoyable and you want to do it again. You also get a machine that's very effective if you have the space and the time to do it. And you don't have to outsource it to somebody else to get the type of media blasting done that you have. Now, in terms of the media itself, that particular item, I used the Black Diamond, which was purchased from Tractor Supply. Do me a favor, if you guys know any place else that sells media for a cheap price, put it down in the comment section. Let us all know. We all need to save bucks, because when I did this modification, the 50-pound bag was less than $9. Now it's $14 for a 50-pound bag. still cost effective. Caution, wear your protective equipment. First time I did this with the machine, I used just the regular face shield. Learned very quickly that particles fly everywhere, okay? Trust me, they're going to get everywhere. Now you saw that I had a full blasting hood and you saw the hose in the back. I actually repurposed my CPAP machine because allergies, springtime and summertime, and CPAP don't go together for me. So I was able to utilize that to supply fresh air into my blasting hood, making it a very comfortable experience, keeping everything out. I guess you could call it kind of like positive pressure, but it works. It worked for me anyway. Plus it kept the glass from fogging up. So whatever equipment you use, whether you use goggles, use some enclosed eye protection and wear a mask. The other caution I'm going to say is, like everyone says, don't use play sand. Play sand has silica in it. Silica, once it strikes an object at high speed, turns into dust that you breathe in, and it gets in your lungs and causes silicosis. And pulmonologists don't want you to get that. You don't want to get that. So don't use play sand. Yeah, I see a lot of people out there using it for their particular projects. But again, use your discretion. But no matter what your media, PPE. Always, always, always. Oh, and understand something. It'd be nice if you could afford one of those Tyvek suits that you could zip up, because that stuff is going to get in everything. Now, you notice that I had the short gauntlet work gloves in the video. They work, but they do get full of sand and grit. Not sand, but the abrasive material and grit eventually. Ordinarily, I would wear the long gauntlet gloves and some protective type long sleeves. Yeah, even in the summertime, you need to wear this, because when I tell you that stuff goes everywhere, it goes everywhere. Now, to make it even more economical, you might want to create a system, a catch system, maybe use a tarp or something of that nature. And of course, you are doing this outside, because in an enclosed area, it's not going to work unless you've got some huge, massive exhaust system to handle the dust and debris that comes from it. But you're doing it outside, so if you can, create some kind of catch system using one of those inexpensive tarps or something of that nature to drape over some type of apparatus that you can make, some type of box that you could make, and do your blasting there. That way you can recover and screen your blasting media, at least most of it, making it a little bit more convenient and cost effective by reusing what you can capture. But I can't think of anything else. There you got it. The Harbor Freight, Vivor, you name it. Blasting pot modifications will turn your blaster into something that you can use and want to use again and again and again. So there you have it. This is Willie at the Notebooks Garage. We'll see you soon.